Sometimes life can be a little bit of a struggle. It's not always moonlight and roses. And you might think that buying a farm in Portugal, it's just going to be an easy journey. And you might have this romanticized view of what it might be like owning a farm, buying the cheap land. But it's good to always get a balance and be aware of the struggles that you can face. So today I'm interviewing Alex Blake and his daughter Molly. He bought in central Portugal quite a few years ago. And since he bought, he's just had one big struggle after another, including overturning his tractor and a huge fire that wiped out a lot of his farm. So sit back and listen to Alex relate some of his experiences and his vision for the future and how he's going to be like Phoenix rising from the ashes, literally, and create something wonderful on this farm with your help. But he needs your help. And before we get started with that, I'd just like to say thank you, Molly and Alex Blake, for being prepared to be interviewed for my little YouTube channel.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I've got quite a few people who follow me who are interested in farming in Portugal and moving to Portugal. So my first question to you would be, what made you choose Portugal? Why Portugal and not Croatia or Greece or Romania?
Value for money is for one. A lot of those other countries, I think they have value for money. We never looked at them in depth, but places like you mentioned, Croatia, when we did look at properties, we found a lot of very, very rundown farms. And only looking via the internet, I wouldn't like to say for certain, but the local villages, etc., didn't look like they had much going on. But we didn't spend much time looking there. I've spent a lot of time in Spain before. And around this area, I travelled around Europe, not a lot, but quite a bit when I was a kid, to live a self-sufficient lifestyle.
So how long have you been in Portugal? Did you go and look first, or did you just go straight there and buy?
No, Sandra and I came out for just over a week.
No, 2.
Was it 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Well, 10 days, yeah, but it went like a week. And we looked at about 25 different farms. And I think you've mentioned it in your videos before about don't look at the photographs and all the rest of it.
Yeah, yeah.
This farm, by the photographs, we discounted it. It had a big X through it. The photographs were hideous. It had just pictures of the old ugly fireplace inside with all the sort of falling down kitchen. And we liked the look of all the others. And when we got there, they either had a neighbour with tons of rubbish and all the rest of it, or you had another neighbour who had access through your driveway permanently right through your front door. And we got a bit disappointed, really. And on the last day, we asked the guys at Remax, Paolo and Angelo, you got anything else? And they got this book out, and there was a couple of different pictures in the book. And I went, oh, that looks interesting. And then we eventually worked out it was the farm that we discounted.
Oh.
Within minutes of pulling up at the gate, we fell in love with it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that you just fall in love with it, Sam. And how did you feel, Molly, moving over?
I didn't get to see it until we decided we were going to move here. I had no idea what I was getting myself in for, but I'm very glad we did. My mum completely discarded this house the second she turned up here.
Because it had bats.
Yeah, she opened it and loads of bats came flying out. She was Yeah, which is now her living room.
Yeah, it's now the living room. So she was sort of, I don't really fancy it. It's got bats and what else? Because she wrote a list of positives and negatives. Oh yes, mobile phone
There's
signal.
no signal in the house, which is still a problem today.
Yeah, that's really weird. We can see the antenna. It's a kilometre away from us in a straight line, and we get 1 to 2 bars of phone signal.
Oh, wow.
I've built antennas for our router, and now we get really fast 4G just because I built some antennas that are on the roof. So people coming out here might have to sort of buy an antenna off of eBay or something like that, and then you'll end up getting good signal here.
And get something.
Yeah.
And so I see that your farm is quite large. How big is it?
32 acres, which is 32 hectares, which is 13 acres.
Sure, that's a lot. And so what made you decide to buy such a big farm?
We didn't. We didn't. We fell in love with it. Well, you didn't see it, did you? I did. When I walked around it, it's got over 5. You've got to make a living out here, unless you're very lucky and you're retired and you've got a decent pension, or you're stinking rich, or you've still got a business that you're running in England or where the country you come from. You need to live. You know, life costs you money, doesn't it? You know, so I think a lot of people come out here with an idea of selling vegetables at the markets and things like that, which unfortunately is a bit of a pipe dream. Unless you've got a license, you're not going to be able to sell your things at the markets. And more importantly, everybody's got a vegetable patch. Everybody. So you know, vegetables aren't a big thing. To us, they're great, you know, and to live on and save you money, but making a living out here can be a bit awkward. We did all the summer fairs, and we have a stall where we sell hamburgers and cocktails and roast piglets and things. Milkshakes, and at the summer fairs, which are sort of 3 or 4 days long, the local council, the junta, they cover you with like an all-round license that you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to sell your homemade food, etc., without the food licenses. If we wanted, then it was brilliant. We got so much good feedback. We could have made a living from it. But the cost of the licenses to then go and start doing fairs in Lisbon and things like that were out of our reach because of our problems. So we've done it with many things. We've come up with good ideas that have been received really well, and then the cost of the licenses makes it it's out of our reach.
So maybe a way around that is to actually get like a group of people together, and then you all sort of like sell your products or whatever, and you share the cost of the license. Is that not possible?
No, because there's not enough profit in it to split. We spend 8 days doing a 3-day fair. We spend days here. We take 3 or 4 refrigerators with us. I built the baraka by hand, salt welded it all up, so it's like a quick put up and down one, and then we have to cover it in bamboo and all the rest of it, the setup. It's exhausting. I mean, we don't sleep for 2.5 days. We're literally awake all night
until 5, 6 in the morning. 2 hours sleep and you're back again.
Well, all the other stalls close at 11ish at night, and we're there till 5 o'clock in the morning. The locals won't let us close. We have good music, hamburgers and great cocktails, and no, you can't go because we need to earn the money.
You sat there with matchsticks.
I can imagine.
But it would be great if we could do things like that.
Yeah. So before you moved there, did you have previous farming experience?
Yeah. Well, my Molly's great grandfather, my grandfather, he was one of the first. I sent my mother a message last night, actually, trying to confirm a few things, but she hasn't seen the message yet. He was one of the first organic farmers in England. He's Greek, and he moved over here, and he had a huge farm in England, and he sold a lot of his stuff in Covent Garden, all his vegetables. So, and then Sandra's father, Molly's granddad, he was a market gardener.
Okay.
I want to say florist, but he wasn't a florist. He was.
Well, he did hanging baskets with Sandra, with Mum, and they won awards for them in England. So and when I was 16, I left school. My first job was in a proper old Victorian garden in England, and I was taught by a lovely old man a lot of things that you just don't get from people nowadays. And then I had a landscape gardening business. I was a digger driver. I'm a mechanic. I'm lucky my hands can fix almost anything. So taking something like this on, I found it as a challenge.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, it has been. It has been.
Yeah, because there's some people, you know, that are looking at buying these cheap. They're attracted by the cheap farms in Portugal, but they don't have any farming experience or actually idea what it is.
You need it. I mean, at the end of the day, apart from specific things like knowing how to prune a tree specifically, which you can watch YouTube videos and get tips, you know.
Well, I've been at Stone Point.
Yeah, but if you got a lot of common sense, and I think the main thing is the want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even in England, we had a small garden, like a normal green grass garden. We turned it into a vegetable patch, and it's definitely a big upgrade from a small garden to 13 acres of land.
Yeah, it's a bit different. Yeah,
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But we bought this specific place, like you say, it's huge. We bought it to make a living from the olives and from the cork, which you get your money every, depending on the growth of the cork, 7 to 9 years. The guys come along and take the cork, and you'll get a small income from it, you know.
Yeah. So you've had some mishaps along the way, including the bats in the belfry.
Yeah.
But so can you tell us about some of the mishaps so that, you know, people know that farming is not always moonlight and roses. You know, there are times when things go wrong. So
well, it's nearly taken my life, isn't it?
Some of your journey.
I rolled a tractor. I rolled a tractor on the farm when it was. Chances of doing it now, touch wood, are going to be a lot slimmer than anything else. But when the farm was overgrown, everything's as tall as you are, and our farm is full of terraces and ramps and staircases, and you can't see it. So you try and clean it as slowly as you can for your own safety. But yeah, I was going up a ramp one evening, and the tractor hit a stone, and the front of the tractor bounced, and I managed to jump clear of it early enough.
Well, that's lucky.
The tractor ended. Yeah.
We've had so many problems that we could probably write a book about it.
Yeah, we should. Well, people have told us to write a book about it. Sandra's actually writing a blog right now, actually, to go on our website when it goes live, and it's turning into a bit of a book.
Yeah.
It's bringing back actually how many problems we've had. Yeah. Saying that, you get problems all over the world, you know. And I think we've been unlucky. We're not the normal. This doesn't happen to everybody, so don't think you're going to come out here and get a nightmare, because we hear of so many people that get a wonderful journey out of it. When we came here, we wanted to keep the money in the village and use the local guys. Well, the local builders really took the mickey. They destroyed our house, basically. Now I've got to be careful how I say this, because one thing Portugal has got is very serious slander laws, and you've got to be very careful on YouTube, things like this, when I'm explaining what I want to say. I don't pinpoint the guys too much, you know. But let's just say a local guy from our local
construction company?
Well, no, not the construction company. The local guy who runs the local council, put it that way, is a qualified electrician, and he made the work in our house and then ran off with some money without saying anything. And I had to go and demand that he gave me an invoice and return 2,000 euros that he didn't deserve.
Yeah.
And when I got new electricians in to finish the work, it was all completely illegal, and it cost us another 8,000 euros for what he'd done.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So what appears initially to be, oh well, the guy's sort of disappeared and left the job, can actually end up costing you a small fortune.
Yeah.
And it's the delays, you know, because we were going to go solar, and we looked at solar, and I've seen that you have, and Spain is one of the best places to buy it from. But the nearest source is behind us from our only neighbour down the road. It's 500 meters away, and that's about as far as you can bring electric for the minimum cost, shall we say. And that's 3-phase that we had brought here. So we've got the maximum power and maximum 3-phase electric, so we don't keep getting power cuts and me being a mechanic and a welder and all the rest of it,
Mm.
I need some fairly powerful juice
Yeah,
on
you
the
need
farm.
regular source. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people have said that they think our house is cursed.
Yes.
My boyfriend's mother's actually contacting a priest for us.
And we do feel things in the house. And in fact, the other night I was talking to it in Portuguese, and we get cold shivers all over us. And
the lights flickered.
Yeah, the lights flicker a few times and things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to do that whole burning sage thing where
sage in the corners. Yeah. For sure, we need to do. But we think we need a priest, because actually it's Molly's boyfriend. They had something similar. They got a guy in, and he went out in the garden and said, dig a hole. And they dug a hole, and there was a dolly in the ground, and he said, that's it. And he took the dolly away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
it's quite scary. This could be a horror movie. Forget about writing a book.
Yeah. Well, I don't think our problems come from this. I don't know. But on the house, on some of the... on
my bedroom door.
Yeah, on the granite around the doorways, there's black crosses painted. And we believe that they paint those when somebody dies in the house, and it's to keep the devil away from their soul.
Oh.
Because don't forget, they're Roman Catholic and extremely religious.
Yeah.
It's a big thing for them.
Okay. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the fire? Because you had like a big fire.
About the what, sorry?
A big burn.
Yeah, I don't know. On our screen, it looks a bit overexposed behind us. Can you see?
Can't really see it.
No.
But you can tell us about it. What happened?
Well, it was about around this week last year that it happened. The cylinder head gasket went on our van. Me being a mechanic, the engine was all apart in our truck right outside the front of our house. And Molly got a phone call from her boyfriend, who works
he was at the swimming pool.
In that direction in the swimming pool. And he telephoned us saying, I can see a huge column of smoke behind your farm. We've seen a huge column of smoke in that exact same spot for the last 3 years. 2 or 3 times every year in exactly the same strip of road, somebody goes there lighting a fire. We had our own fire station in the village, which closed 3 years ago.
Yeah, but there's still an occasional truck.
Well, no, it's not. That's the thing. That was your firemen, your bomberos, and they've shut that down. And now you will see fire trucks, which are bright yellow, called Alpha Seca, and they're like a private-run company. I've been asking for many years. We've got a eucalyptus plantation that side, which is 35 meters from our house, and the law says it must be a minimum of 50. We've got another house behind us, and that eucalyptus plantation is 6 meters away from our property. I've been asking the council to help us, and they sort of refused, basically. We got the man who is part of the city council, but he heads the civil protection. I got him out here. He looked at my land and told me nobody needed to clean. 3 weeks later, the fire came up over that hill, and within 4 minutes, it had consumed our entire farm.
Oh,
it was.
No.
And all of our personal belongings.
It was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. To see something so quickly like devour such beauty for a start, such nature, and all our hard work and hopes. And then, like Molly's just said, we had a Luton van up the top, which had all our personal possessions in it, and memories and photographs and ashes of our dogs, and all burnt to the ground. So yeah, we lost a lot, but it's recovering. The trees are slowly coming back, but we've lost about 70 olive trees, big old olive trees. So, but they're growing back from suckers.
Were you able to claim from insurance?
No, we don't have any insurance because we haven't got the money to pay for insurance, and that's why I was so desperately asking the council for help. I've got friends who are firemen, and they're sapadoras, which I don't know if you've ever seen them around here. Tiny little fluorescent yellow pickup trucks, and the guys with streamers. Yeah. They're like your local first response. They come out, check the fire, then they tell the fireman, yeah, you actually need to come, this is a big one. And they've been telling us for a long time that you need to get this land cleaned, it's illegal. They're telling me why it's illegal, what it should be, and you don't get any help. So after the fire, I made an appointment to see the city mayor, and that took me 2 months before I got a response. His visitors, in fact, you've seen me interviewed with him on the national television at one of the fairs. He's passed us all the fairs, knows who we are. He refused to help us. we had a friend in the village, an older chap, who said, no, they need to help you. What's happened to your farm? It's destroyed everything. I'll arrange I'll come with you with the meeting. And unfortunately, we didn't get any help. So it's back to hard graft and trying to do what we can to recover it ourselves, really.
Yeah. And so with having lost everything and all these disasters, I mean, this has obviously affected you financially.
Well, we've lost our income from our olives. We produce 10 tons of olives every year. That's a lot of olive oil, and we sell it. We sell it here in Portugal. We sell it in the village because it's a very good olive oil.
And I also use it in my soap making as well.
Yeah. We had animals before. We got rid of those because of poor Sandra's health problems. We had 16 goats, 100 chickens, 40 ducks, geese. What else do we have? Various other animals. Pigs. We had 5 or 6 pigs at the time. And it was great. And we really missed having the animals just on the farm. And we really noticed how much they cleaned. All the places we can't get with the tractor, they cleaned it up for us. So we miss them and we need to get them. But once we refence the perimeter of the farm, and we're going to get a small herd of goats. If we can sell the house we won in the village against the builder who stole a lot of money from us. But again, another problem. We won the house, which was, I don't quite understand, our court case for us for €100,000, which actually was nowhere near the amount of money we lost, but it was enough to start again, so we were happy with that. On the day of court, the judge told us take the house. Before this, we were told the builder was going to run away to Switzerland, where he's got other houses and lots of money, and for a small builder, brand new Mercedes, 2 or 3 houses in Switzerland.
Makes you think he's
well for a tiny little builder, isn't he? Eh? So anyway, we went to court and the judge secured one of his properties in the village. Several months later, he had an accident and rolled his tractor and died under it. So we thought the court case was finished, because normally out here, if somebody dies, that's the court case finished. We had to pay a lot more money and a lot more problems with the court to eventually get his wife, they're not legally married, but they were living as husband and wife, get her responsible for the debts in the court. 3 years later, we go to court, we get awarded the house, and the judge said, if you don't take the house today, the security of the house finishes and the woman can sell it, and you're going to end up with nothing, and it might take you another 8 years to get her back here. Justice is not quick out here. We got the house. We made an agreement with the judge that by 5 o'clock that afternoon, the keys to the house would be in our hand and the documents would be in our name. 2 months later, I had to go and find the woman in the village and demand that she give me the key. The documents were not put in our name, and it's only in the last couple of weeks, 9 months later, through us doing it, that we're slowly getting the papers in our name. And when we opened the house, the woman had destroyed it inside. She destroyed it. She's just taken everything, light switches, lights. So we're going to have problems selling it, and we need that money to continue.
So now, with all these sort of things that have happened, I mean, it must be hard to keep staying positive.
Well, I was just going to say, I just sound like I've given you like doom and gloom, but we love it here. How many people get the opportunity to live in paradise? Yeah. How can you give up on that? We've been given a wicked opportunity, haven't we? You love it here.
Yeah.
The sound of the birds every day, Yeah. But yeah, we got to work hard, but.
Yeah. So now so what are some of your plans for the future? What are some of the things you're wanting to do with the farm, especially like the area that was burnt so badly?
Well, that started after a few days after the fire. A few things sort of in my mind were coming round. Obviously, it was heartbreaking. We walked around and we were absolutely in tears about it. And we're going to do another video. We're going to do a video actually about the fire with some pictures of it and the damage. How can we make something positive out of another negative? You either give up and sit there and cry in your soup, or you get on with it. And I'm lucky I've got an amazing little daughter that's very strong and very hardworking and very clever. And
Take after my dad.
And speaks fluent Portuguese.
Oh, that's excellent.
Ele fala bem, mas é suficiente, mas depende do dia. And we've got the idea to start a nature reserve. A friend of ours in England set up a GoFundMe page for basically for Sandra to replace and to help her with because she lost the most in that. She was a professional horse shower in England. She'd been to all the competitions in Wembley and won most of them. She was very well respected. She had bin liners and bin liners of awards and sashes and everything.
And that all got burnt.
Even a handmade statue that was done in the honour of her mother, that was all completely burnt. So that was for her, and that gave me the idea to set up not a GoFundMe, but we did a fundraiser on Facebook. Yeah, and we raised, I think we raised about 1,500 euros in about a week. So we've got some people in the village, some really excellent people in the village, because all I've said is about is negative people here. There are some absolutely beautiful people here with amazing, corações de ouro, hearts of gold. And they've offered to help us set up an association. And out here, we need a legal association before we can actually approach companies who've already said that they'll help us with donations of trees and things. But we need to set that up first. The land that we had was full of eucalyptus that we didn't plant, was already here. And we've struggled to get the guys to come and rip it up and get rid of it. I think I've got a company coming now. Well, hopefully next week, they're coming to start the work to put it out. Then we're going to put the perimeter fence in, and that's going to be a public park. We're going to open it to the public. Again, we wanted to make a nature reserve. No, it would have affected, if we make it a legal nature reserve, we wouldn't be able to run a farm here because of all the legal protections against the animals and stuff. So it's easier to make a public park, but we will run it as a nature reserve, if you like. We're going to plant deciduous trees that survived. That was horrible, wasn't it? After the fire, when we walked the land, there were thousands of dead birds on the floor.
Tiny piggies.
Yeah, that was really quite a shock to see such a number of them. The fire came in, we had a particularly unlucky day, didn't we? The wind was like 40 miles an hour and the flames were 25 meters long and horizontal. Our farm, this is a tip for people, don't think if you clean your land, you plough your grass, your farm's going to be all right. Ours was dirt and it went from tree to tree to tree to tree to tree. In fact, one of the, I was sort of in shock. All the other fires, we'd gone to the mountains and helped people and you're in control and all the rest of it. I saw it starting to come down that hill and one of the policemen that I'm sort of semi-friends with in the village put his arm around me and went, "Oh no, Alex," because of the speed it was entering the farm. Those guys had polo shirts on. They're not firemen, they're policemen. He was running into flames up to his waist trying to save my farm. That's not his job, but he did. Incredible, you know, really good. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Obviously, with all the problems that we've just told you about, people have been telling us, you suggested to us that we start a Patreon page. We've looked at it before, but thought we were, I don't know, too early in our YouTube career to ask for help, but others seem to think not. So we've set up a Patreon page, and if people want to come and do that, that would be amazing.
Yeah. And so the link for that the link for your Patreon page and your YouTube channel will be in the description below this video.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, thanks. So we're going to, hopefully for people, we're going to, if they donate a certain amount, which we're about to finalise today, they'll get a free tree in their name and a plaque to, as an incentive to help sort of follow the channel and
to reforest the farm.
Yeah. Yeah. And give 10% off all our natural products that we sell here. In fact, there's one. We haven't got many of the other things. We kept the soap inside because it's so hot, but these are things I make.
Oh, wow. That's stunning.
That's made from what's left of our burnt olive trees.
Oh, wow.
I bought a lathe. I've never used a lathe in my life. I've taught myself how to use a lathe on YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. I was lucky. I managed to be able to turn out some decent things. So another positive, eh?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is, like, you know, when all these things happen, you've got to focus on the positives. I mean, We got to look at
It's
it.
been hard for us, though.
So
It's just
if
been...
there's anybody watching who can help you guys by supporting you on Patreon to get the farm reforested, and after that fire, I mean that's terrifying.
We've got a lot of work.
Absolutely,
it's a lot of work.
terrifying. And I mean,
and unfortunately, as in life, it needs money, doesn't it? Hey, so
yeah. But what is impressive is that, you know, your family, you're not giving up. You're looking at what you can do towards the future, and that is really something to be proud about. You know, a lot of other people would have just got depressed and given up and abandoned the farm.
We've been depressed. Poor Sandra's, my wife, Sandra's mum's.
Molly's mum.
Did I say? Oh, well.
Yeah.
Come on, she got us up super early this morning. What do you expect? She got tick fever. Well, sadly, her dad died, passed away out here through many different problems, but that will come out in one of our videos. She got tick fever. Didn't notice a bite on her, and 3 months later she fell very ill and was rushed to hospital. Her brain, her heart, and all her internal organs swelled up 35%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was in and her vision was starting to leave her as well, as we were actually waiting for the doctors. She was in hospital for 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah, having her blood cleaned and everything, and was not in a good way. She's now on pills for the rest of her life, and she has to take chemotherapy pills every day. And she's got high stage rheumatoid arthritis. Her hands are buckled up. She struggles to walk, bless her, but she doesn't want to give up. She doesn't want to give up.
Well, you know, I just find it amazing that with all these things that have happened, that you guys are still so committed to fulfilling your dream and developing this farm. I mean, even though the fire came, you are now looking at, okay, what can I do to create something better than it was before? And this public park, like a nature reserve, and you're also concerned about pollution of the rivers, I understand, because you've got a river on your little stream on your farm.
Yeah, well, it's the actual outlet of the Barragem do Pisco in our village. So it's a huge barragem, and all the water. Well, you can never keep all the water in a big lake when you build it, so it seeps out, and the river flows a metre deep all year round. We're very, very lucky. And there's some amazing watercourse things down there. This farm was huge in the old days. It employed everybody from the village. It owned all the land you can see around here. And with, you know, as you know, with the farms, they divided up over the years and give bits away. We've got what we've got left of it. When we used to run our Lister pump, which we're doing a video on now, aren't we, on YouTube, about restoring it, because sadly in the storm Elsa, a huge pine tree fell over and smashed all the pipework in. Another positive. Hey, God.
This is unbelievable. This is like, I think I'm going to call you Job Blake rather than Alex Blake.
It's just again and again, it's relentless, you know, and it's so hard when you think, because we've had many ideas, like I said, the fair, and we started them, and then through effects of other things, should we say?
Domino effect.
Yeah.
When one thing goes wrong, everything goes wrong.
Yeah, all can do, you know. So it's been hard. So anyway,
you know what? Let's make that this is the start of good things happening now.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, we're really encouraged by people liking the videos on YouTube, and they've been a bit hard to make to sound, because I've listened to myself after editing them, and I keep saying to Molly, "Do I sound really depressed?" But I haven't left the farm in a year. I've probably left the farm 10 times to go to Castelo Branco. I don't leave the farm. I love it here.
Yeah.
I don't talk to many people, so it's quite hard to. Well, we're just used to talking to each other, aren't we? Yeah. So it sort of sounds a bit strange when we try and be super jolly on because I watch your videos and you sound so full of beans, so full of life, like we were when we came.
Yeah.
And it's slowly been bleached away, I guess. I don't know. It's slowly sort of worn off.
Well, you know what? I'm here to stir you up again and to wake you up again.
Brilliant. And we're picking up on it, and we love it. It's great, you know, meeting other people like you. You do pick up on their positivity, and it's lovely to have you encourage us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, that's excellent. So the last
Well,
thing
the pollution.
you,
Pollution. Do you want me to carry? I didn't say the pollution, did I?
your pollution.
Yeah.
Carry on about the pollution.
So the big river pump that got broken in the storm, when every time we ran it, we have a huge tank in the top of the farm, and the water would come in beautifully crystal clear, and then in the morning we'd see a black silt in the bottom, and I don't know what you'd call like a gelatine, bits of balls of rubbish like this would float up and down. On a cold morning, it would sink to the bottom. During the heat of the day, it would all rise to the top. We had another vegetable patch then, the first one we made, didn't we? And we had a dripper system, worked for 5 minutes and blocked it all up. And we started looking at why and where it was coming from. And when we looked in the river, we noticed that there was just this half a metre deep of this horrible black silt that stunk. And there's a water company on the other side of the river that take the water from the lake and they turn it into drinking water for Castelo Branco, the big city. And it's aluminium sulfate that they use. And as most people will know, aluminium is not good for the human body or anything else.
Yeah.
The law says it's 0.01 milligrams is allowed, and we eventually took a sample and it came back at over 1,000.
Wow.
I started contacting the company by email and by telephone. They initially sort of took notice of us. I asked them to come and actually look at my farm, and on the day of the meeting, I just took Molly's boyfriend as a Portuguese witness. So if you ever get any problems or anything like that you think is quite serious, always take a Portuguese person that's got extremely good English, because otherwise it can be construed later on that you didn't understand each other and all the rest of it.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got some other advice. Hopefully we can give you in a minute if this doesn't take too long. But we can always do another video with you if you like, because we've learned a lot of things through our struggles here that we'd love to pass on to other people, things we wish we'd known before.
Yeah.
They refused to visit us on the farm. They telephoned us 10 minutes before the meeting, said, come to the river. I said, I don't want to come to the river. I know what's in the river. I want you to look at my tanks. No, we're not. Come to the river. So we went to the river and met them. Their eyes opened up when they actually sort of walked to the river's edge and looked at it, but didn't say anything. One of the engineers from Lisbon crossed the river to my side of the river and said, well, look, why don't you put a tube from your pump 50 meters upriver to get clean water? Sorry? I've got to take, that's been there for 200, 150, 200 years. Because in the wall of the river, we've got huge tunnels that let the water come in, and they fill, we call it a well below our water pump, but it's not, it's just a big catchment pot for all the water that pours in through these tunnels. And I just thought it was quite amazing that somebody would suggest that you go and find clean water in a public river. So I then asked her, well, okay, well, if I do that, what about all the Portuguese down the road? Your people, they're old, they're poor, and they live off the land, and they're watering their vegetables with this water. Her response was, well, her response asked me, I asked her to leave our farm. She said, we don't care about them because they don't know what you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've got emails from them where they're basically telling us that they don't care about our land, they don't care about our trees, and they don't care that our animals were drinking that water. Although in another email, they offered to bring us a tanker full of clean water, and then the next day, they've forgotten all about that offer. They didn't know anything about it. After the fire, I called, because of the problems with the council and asking them for help with the land, I called SEPNA, which is the environmental side of the GNR. They came out, and they are two smashing guys. Nuno Santos is one of them from Alcane's, an absolutely fantastic guy, speaks brilliant English as well. He reported all the land around here with GPS markers. They make a big thing out here about fires, the local councils. There's 2 fire roads within about 100 meters of our house. They're public fire roads, and they're there to slow the fires down. They're fully planted with trees. not somebody's planted them, but they've grown naturally. But the trees are this big, they've been there for years.
Yeah.
The guys have reported that to the local council after the fire. They've reported it again this year before the deadline to clean. Nobody's cleaned anything. That's a council, and they've left two right next to our farm that already burned. And on the day of the fire, didn't it? It had done its thing and it had passed the farm. And then we were walking around in the farm looking for what they call reascends. And that's when the fires restart.
The roots of the tree.
And we found them, right? And we called the firemen over and they were trying to put it out. And it came back towards our farm, across this dirty fire road, and burnt the front of our farm again. The poor firemen are put at risk by these problems. And during the fire, I wanted to get out of our gate and start throwing, with my bucket of my tractor, throwing soil over the roots of the olive trees to put the flames out. So they didn't, which they did, eventually burn the entire tree away. As I was leaving the farm, one of the firemen told me, go in the eucalyptus and put the fires out. And I did. And I nearly got caught in there. Well, I did get caught in there. The plough on the back of my tractor got caught around a eucalyptus tree, and the flames were starting to burn my tyres. So we managed to get that fire out, because if we hadn't, it would have gone right up to the edge of the barrage, and the firemen would have to leave the only big source of water in the area. So it just doesn't make sense out here sometimes, the way that they manage the land around certain resources that they need desperately in big fires, and they leave it abandoned. And then when it comes to the fire, the firemen are at risk from actually being burnt themselves, or can't access the water. So it's not very clever. But the pollution, how about sort of finish the pollution bit off. So as we said, when those guys came about and reported the forest, I asked him, I said, oh, would you come and look at the river? And he said yes. And he went down there and he went mad. He actually went personally mad. He said quite a few swear words. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He said, it's not normal. He said, normally I'd make a report in about a week. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's one of their national it's an association that tests and looks after watercourses. He drove immediately to Castelo Branco and personally picked the woman up and brought her straight to the farm. And she was in the river up to the top of her wellies collecting water samples and stuff, which have been put. The following morning, he sent me a copy by email, and he put the paperwork straight into the court. So I'm going to court against this large national water company, and I'm not going to mention their name because of what I said earlier about certain laws out here, but it's going to go ahead. I wish I could push it to be quicker. Unfortunately, it's going to have to go at the speed of the local courts and the police. So as soon as it's being resolved, we're going to update it on our website, and we hope that we actually manage to get it cleaned up, you know.
Well, it's fantastic that with all this adversity you're facing, you're still fighting to save the environment. I mean, that's really commendable.
Well, I see it as, how can you turn a blind eye to that?
Yeah, true.
You know?
We're supposed to live on this earth, so why would you destroy it?
Well, and you live in such an amazing place, yet some company, even if the amount of the aluminium sulfate is not above the legal limit, the actual, because that's what I asked the policeman, I said, what about the physical mess? He said, that's like littering. He said, that's not allowed. So even the physical mess, and it's like 0.5 meter deep. The well thing I told you about that we've got is filled up 2 meters deep with it. So there's no way we can draw water without sucking this, because it's so light, the pump's so powerful, it just draws all this muck and it just fills our tanks constantly.
Oh, that's terrible.
But yeah, the environment is a big thing. Yeah. There's no fish. There's no fish in the river after it, but beforehand, it's full of fish.
Yeah.
So it's not good, is it? If the fish aren't living there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the fish aren't living there, they're telling you something.
Yeah. So the last thing now is, so for anybody who is wanting to come out to Portugal and buy a farm and start doing what you've done, what kind of advice would you give them? If you could give them three items of advice, should we say, 3 pieces of advice you could give them, what would you give them?
Run. No, not at all. Not at all. Check things out very thoroughly, like you have been. because it's been quite an eye-opener actually to see that you really have spent a lot of your time looking at those details, which for one reason or another many people don't. We've been unlucky. We are not the normal situation that happens here to people. We really are. Tem mau gente de lados do mundo, and that means you've got bad people on every side of the world. It's not a dig at the Portuguese, because I feel sometimes when we explain to some people the problems we've had, because it includes a lot of Portuguese people, I think they think, oh, maybe you're being quite negative about them. Yeah, it sounds that way, but hopefully you can see that we're in here, we're not negative, but unfortunately I'm a realist and I'll tell it how it is. So to some people it comes across maybe as being a bit negative, but that is not it. We bought a big farm, maybe we gave off the wrong signals, so be aware of that, because a lot of the Portuguese will see all of us as very rich, and taking money from them is not a problem, when we all know that that's not the case. We sold everything we owned. Yeah, we came here with a pocket full of money. We sold our entire life's work. You know, we're not millionaires. We didn't still have a home in England to live from. We came here to work. We bought this farm and chose, like you said, why did you buy such a big farm? To make a living. Because that's the other thing. Can you live here? Have you got the funds to live here? You've got to work things out. Water, like you said in your videos before, the font de vida, no, it's the source of life. If you haven't got water, forget it. You will not run a farm here. You will not be able to grow your vegetables properly. A lot of the land, we're lucky in this zone, we've got like black dirt. It's soil. Whereas I think in maybe you've got more of the granite soil.
Yeah, I've got granite. I've got granite boulders and everything on my farm.
Yeah. Well, we've got a bit of everything, haven't we? Yeah. All the here is like green, and then a bit up there is a bit more like you. We've got the big rocks coming out of the ground and stuff, but only in one small portion of the farm. Have a plan of what you're going to do. You're going to change it, I should think, like we've had to, but have some idea of why you're coming out here, what you're going to do when you come here. Can you live on your land? Can you live in the buildings that are on the land? Because a lot of people come out here and see a building and think, oh, it's a house, we can live in it. It's not always the case. If you want to come out here as a small holiday thing and stay for it, doesn't matter. You know, you're entitled to stay in small buildings for a limited amount of time. But if you want to come and live and do things correctly, I would say check that out. Always pay people that you employ by check or bank transfer. Never cash like this plonker.
Okay.
It's not provable in court, and it is provable, but it's not deemed a good thing in court. All right. So always pay people by check and by bank transfer to cover yourself.
That's good advice. That's good advice. Going back to the point you made just before, of all the properties that I looked at, all the farms I looked at, there was only one that actually had a habitation license for the building, and that's the one that I bought.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why I bought it as well. It's because it's actually got so you've got your the registration for the land, you've got that document, and then you've got a separate one for the building. Yeah. And that's the only property I looked at. And I mean, the agents will tell you, oh no, you can live there and you can see people have lived there, whatever, but none of them had an actual license. And when I asked the agent, which one would you choose? And I was thinking he would tell me to buy the one that cost 23,000, 25,000. And he said, I would choose the one you are looking at, because that one, you can increase the value of the property.
Yeah.
The others, you can't increase the value because there's no habitation license.
Even still, we had a lovely couple, I'm going to give them a shout, George and Alison from Scotland. They had a house in the village, a bit older than us, and they've sold and they've gone back now. They were lovely. They bought a house in the village opposite the pharmacy with a lovely garden. He did the whole house up inside. He never made a penny on it.
Yeah.
He completely revamped the whole house, so it was absolutely lovely inside, and it didn't earn him a penny. House prices out here are very strange. In the fact that in England, if you developed a house like he did, you would have put 50,000, 60,000 pounds value on the house. Out here, nothing. So yeah, and you're right. I mean, we bought this place. It's got 3 houses on this farm that are registered as houses. If they're built before 1951, you're entitled to live in them for 9 months of the year. But you're entitled to live in them for 9 months of the year, but it's not legal. And as you've just said, it will have a negative effect, or it won't increase the value of your property in any way. We didn't come here to make money out of a property, like I don't think any of us do really, but it's a fact of life, and it's something to take account, isn't it, really? So yeah, I would agree with you. And I think looking at your place, I think you've bought a really nice little place, actually. I think you'll be able to do some really nice things with that. You don't need to come like we have and buy a big farm and a big fancy house. I mean, we had our father-in-law with us. So one half of the house is meant to be for him as he got older. So we find ourselves rattling around an enormous great house now, but we won't leave it, even if we have got ghosts. We won't leave it.
I would say the one bad thing about this place is you can never find Dad. You can't find people.
It's huge.
I don't know if he's at the top, if he's down the bottom, where he is. The one
we need a walkie-talkie or something.
We do.
We do, but still, sometimes it's so big. I say I'm down on the terrace, but what terrace?
What one?
So we've got a tank on the other side of the river that we noticed a terrapin in when we came. So it's a terrapin tank. So we've got names for zones in the farm to narrow it down for finding each other. I don't know.
Double check and triple check everything.
Yeah, if you're going to keep animals, make sure that you get them registered. There's men that will drive around villages and come into your farm and check to see if you've got animals, and if they haven't got the correct tag.
So tell me a bit about this. I don't know about this. So tell me, you've got to get your animals registered.
They have to be registered. They have to have a tag and a microchip in their belly. I think by law still you can keep 1 pig to kill for your family. And it's not in law, but it's written in the Portuguese constitution that you can still kill and slaughter 1 pig for a family. But technically, it's against the law. I've helped slaughter about 7 pigs out here. I don't have a problem with doing it. I did with 1 pig. I absolutely adored him. We bought him, and he was a cross between a wild boar. Well, a wild boar and a black pig. He had huge tusks.
He was lovely,
and he was like a dog. You'd whistle for him and call, he'd come, rub his belly, and he was a wonderful thing. And we decided to put him in the freezer. And the minute I did the deed, I don't think I'm going to do another one. No, it's not the thing to do.
Apparently I don't know, somewhere in the area there is like a meat processing plant or like an abattoir where you can take some. I don't mind eating my animals. I just don't want to kill them myself.
Yeah. If it's for home, if it's for your own consumption, it's fine. But if in any way, like us, when we do the fairs, we were roasting piglets on a spit, which just the Portuguese love. They thought I was a crazy man. They kept telling me to put the pig lower on the coals to burn it. And it cooked for 6 hours, and they thought I was a lunatic until they tasted it.
And everyone came back with
well, didn't they? They were saying to us, I can't believe an Englishman's told us how to cook a pig. Because they eat a lot of pork, don't they? Yeah, so if you want to do something like that, then you take your animal to the slaughterhouse, they stamp the meat, it's then legal, it's tested for any diseases, and you can use it. Home consumption, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know what you're looking for.
Yeah, okay. But obviously, be aware of what you're looking for.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your experiences with all of us. And if people can help a little bit in getting this farm sort of restocked with trees again after that horrible fire.
Well, Sandra's been doing our workaway page at the moment, so we're going to get ready to start taking some workaways on again. So if anybody out there wants to come stay with us, we won't work you like a slave, that's for sure.
Not in this
we would love some help, and I'm sure you'd love your time here on the farm.
Okay, so excellent. And I know Molly's really good at making jams and preserves and everything. So you will eat really well if you go and volunteer on this farm. Yeah. And the Patreon link will be below.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
very,
Cindy.
very
We
much.
wish you all the best with your journey. And like we said to you the other night when we were talking, you need any help, you've only got to ask us. We'll be more than willing to help you.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you, eh?